Welcome to the Grumpy Stew podcast. My name is Dylan. I am the Grumpy Stew, and you're listening to episode 50 of the comedy podcast for flight attendants. Listen, for some of you uninitiated travelers out there who might be listening, allow me to give you a friendly tip. It's not necessary to ask every member of the crew if the flight is full. The answer is always yes. Every damn flight is full every damned day. It's actually weird if there's more than a few open seats. Want to sit with your family? Don't buy basic economy tickets. It's that simple. And no, we are not going to rearrange the plane just for you. Why? Because you didn't pay for it. It's pretty simple math. I have a pretty action-packed show for you today. A business class flyer threw a tantrum over a meal choice and single-handedly got the plane turned around mid-flight. I'll share some tidbits from my military service, and there will be an epic rant about our industry's practice of selling more tickets than it can physically accommodate, plus the usual rants, raves, crass humor, and aviation news commentary. But first, a message from our sponsor. Are you an aspiring douchebag, but unsure of how to fully commit to a douchebag lifestyle? Have you ever watched a douchebag in action and thought, wow, I want to be like that guy? Well, I've got the book for you. It's How to Be a Douchebag for Dummies. This handy guide includes helpful douchebag tips, such as constant complaining, disregard for boundaries, poor listening skills, interrupting and talking over others, usually about yourself, showing an inflated sense of self-importance, being as insensitive as possible, and much, much more. How to Be a Douchebag for Dummies. Available at thegrumpystew.com. Get your copy today. Okay, just to be clear, I didn't really write a book called How to Be a Douchebag for Dummies. So if you do wander over to thegrumpystew.com, you won't find that. But now that I think about it, maybe not such a bad idea. And speaking of thegrumpystew.com, everything Grumpy Stew can be found there. Check it out. Follow me on the Facebook, the Instagram, and on the Threads. That's new. Plus, wherever and however you get your podcast, be sure to like and subscribe to this one. And there's a merch store on Etsy. You can check it out and buy some shit. Links to everything are available in the description down below. So, I recently restarted my gym membership, and it's just time to start taking this shit seriously again. I go to the gym, and it's been a while, so they want me to talk to a trainer. I don't want to talk to a trainer. I know why they want me to talk to the trainers, because they're hoping I'll, spend a bunch of money on useless sessions, and I'm not about to do that. But they insist I talk to this fucking trainer. So I talk to the trainer. By the way, until you start a gym membership, you'll never use the word trainer this many times in your life. Yeah, I went to go see my trainer, totally kicked my ass, it was epic. My trainer said it's not necessary to eat an entire wicker basket for breakfast, but I don't know. I saw the research, it seems to help. I go talk to the trainer guy, and he's like, what are your goals? I don't really go for that sort of thing. I'm not a goal-oriented kind of guy. I'm not the kind of guy that really has much of a plan. I just kind of sort of go out there and wander around. That's my plan. I just want to get a pump and move on with my day. You don't have any goals? Not even one? You gotta have a goal, at least one goal. By the way, until you talk to a gym trainer dude, you're not gonna use or hear the word goal as many times in your fucking life. And he wouldn't let this shit go. I'm like, dude, if I have one goal, it's to delay the impending yet inevitable massive coronary I'm about to have. And I just want to, push that can down the road as much as possible. That's my goal. For some reason, this encounter reminded me of being in the military. Every time you change bases, you have to go around the base and check in with the various offices and departments that essentially control your life. And at some point along the way, you also have to check in with the medical and dental people. I was in the Marines. The Marines, unlike the Army, Air Force, Coast Guard, and Navy, they don't have their own medical and dental people. They get that stuff from the Navy, because the Marines are part of the Department of the Navy. There are some differences between us and branches like, the Army. The Army has medics. We have Navy corpsmen. More or less the same thing, except our medics come from the Navy. I'm not hating on the Navy or corpsmen, far from it. We respect the corpsmen because they're in the shit right next to us. They're right beside us when we go through all the same things, and they go through it with us. It's the doctors and the dentists, on the other hand, and I use those terms loosely, by the way. I don't believe Those dickbags are real doctors for one goddamn second. They're total quacks. I really am a doctor, I went to medical school. Yeah, at the University of Phoenix. I swear to Jetway Jesus, I went to go check in at dental, handed my files over, and the dude looks me dead in the eye and says, I need my wisdom teeth extracted. No examination, no x-rays, nothing. Just goes from 0 to wanting to schedule an extraction for wisdom teeth I didn't even freaking have yet. It's like they had an extraction quota to fill. That's the kind of shit I'm talking about. I really am a dentist, I went to dental school. Where? At the DeVry Institute for Technology? So forgive me when I'm a little apprehensive about having to check in with someone else before I can move on with my freaking day. I don't care if it's just some schmuck in a polo shirt trying to sell personal training sessions. Don't need them, don't want them. And I'll figure that shit out for myself, thank you very much. Coming up, a disgruntled business class passenger single-handedly caused an entire 777 from Houston to turn around and land in Chicago because he didn't get his first meal choice. That's next on the Grumpy Stew Podcast. Tired of your kids behaving like apes on a plane? Do you wish they'd just relax and take a nap? Well, now they will, with Vodka for Kids. Vodka for Kids looks just like water, and it's completely odorless, so you don't have to worry about your kids smelling like a lush. Plus, Vodka for Kids come in a container that looks just like a juice box, and keeping mommy out of jail. Vodka for Kids, now available in suppository form. A United Airlines business class douchebag traveling from Houston to Amsterdam single-handedly caused a diversion after he decided to make a stink after not getting his first choice of meals. I wish I were making this up. The crew made the choice to divert to Chicago and remove the douchebag because said douchebag thought it would be a good idea to loudly confront the crew and proclaim that he's, and I quote, standing up for my rights. His right to what exactly? I don't know. A TikTok video that captured a portion of the incident surfaced after the news broke. A witness of the incident took to Twitter. Is it still called Twitter or is it Shitter? Anyway, the witness was quick to point out that much more had transpired than what was shown on the TikTok video. Another witness said the douchebag appeared to be intoxicated. So, there you have it. A drunken Texas douchebag felt his rights were being violated when his first choice of meal was unavailable. Willing to bet he could have pre-ordered something, but I digress. And he decided to raise the issue by harassing the very people who have no influence or control of which meals and how many of them are boarded on the aircraft. Brilliant move, sir. I hope you enjoyed your free trip to Destination Fucked. Delta made the news, and it's not for a good reason. The U.S. Department of Transportation has launched an investigation into a flight that ultimately canceled after a number of passengers and crew fell ill to exposure to extreme heat during a set of lengthy delays in Las Vegas. At least one passenger and one flight attendant were hospitalized after cabin temperatures soared to an unsafe level during a lengthy set of delays in Vegas. Other reports conflict a bit and suggest it was multiple passengers and perhaps more than one flight attendant sent to the hospital. The Transportation Secretary, he has said he wants to know exactly how something like that happens. And you know what? I'll take a guess. I don't know anything, I'm just guessing here, but, pure speculation. But I bet you dollars to donuts the APU was broken. And if it wasn't the APU being broken, perhaps one of the air conditioning packs was broken, and the airline still chose and made the active decision to send that plane to Las Vegas knowing the aircraft had issues, and it's, hot in July. I don't even think that's all of it. I bet there's more to this story. And who knows if the details will ever become public. And, all we can all do is just guess and speculate, but I'm willing to bet the flight deck crew was too chicken shit to refuse the plane. And the flight attendant crew was too chicken shit to speak up and advocate on behalf of their passengers. Even to their own detriment, which, is fucking insane. But again, this is just wild speculation. I think it makes sense. Because I haven't seen any other reports of passengers getting pulled from planes due to the heat on that day either or any other time. Have you? If you have, leave a comment. Let me know. I'm going to go read that news article too. But I have a feeling, the crew is culpable in this. I just have a feeling. If not, the company as a whole obviously is culpable because they sent a plane that couldn't tolerate the heat. And I'm sure they knew that. And I shouldn't even mention this next bit because as of now, it's just rumor. But I mean, come on. We know if litigation hasn't already been filed, it will be soon. But there is a rumor that passengers are not only attempting to sue Delta, which is to be expected, of course, but they're also trying to sue the flight attendants. And again, this is a rumor, but it backs up my guess that they sat by and didn't forcefully push back against taking a potentially broken plane to Atlanta in triple-digit heat. But I'm just guessing. But if I see anything, substantive that's factual, I'll pass it along. And if you see something, please send it to me or leave a comment. I'm sure everyone would like to see it as well. And here's something juicy. Another pilot is getting an involuntary early retirement for showing up to the aircraft 6 times over the legal alcohol limit. And what's his consolation prize, Johnny? Well, Grumpy, he's also won a 6-month suspended prison sentence and a 1-year license suspension. Well, that's fantastic. In other news, a moron is suing Frontier Airlines for $100 million, claiming the budget airline isn't budget enough. The moron claims in her filing that the ancillary fees, quote, confuse, trick, and trap customers with, quote, bait and switch tactics. Of course, the moron is from Orlando. I guess the moron didn't get the memo about how budget airlines operate and exist as, businesses. They charge fees for everything. And they do this to check notes, generate revenue. This is like public knowledge. It's all over their fucking website. Is she retarded? Or just a total fucking moron? Leave a comment. Tell me what you think it is. I'm guessing moron. I feel a rant coming on, but that's next, and you're listening to the Grumpy Stew Podcast. Are you a lonely stew? Having a hard time meeting the right guy? Tired of the trashy singles bars and dating apps? Well, your answer is here. The Drunk Pilot Boyfriend Doll. So drunk. The Drunk Pilot Boyfriend Doll is life-size, anatomically correct, and fully functional.
I'm a grower, not a shower.
And he's hammered.
Oh my God.
Just like a real pilot, he'll eat all of your food.
This is free, right?
And comes with a mountain of child support and alimony debt.
Fuck.
Get your Drunk Pilot Boyfriend Doll today. Hurry while supplies last. The Drunk Pilot Boyfriend Doll. The purposeful and deliberate act of overbooking runs counter to any acceptable standard of ethical business practice. In addition to the practice being ripe with serious legal, contractual, and consumer protection violations, overbooking forces hospitality personnel into making conscious, immoral, and unethical choices. That's from the Case Against Overbooking by Linda Inghagen, I think, and in our case, just substitute hospitality personnel with airline personnel. As flight attendants, sometimes, we have to be careful what we ask for. Many of us are fighting for fair compensation, and for many that means being paid from report to release, the entire duty day. Of course, that in and of itself could be rife with unintended consequences. Just off the top of my mind, I can think of 2 potential scenarios. One, they just stop paying us by the hour and make us salaried employees and just work us to death because it doesn't cost them anything beyond the salary and maybe some premiums. Or they just cut our hourly rate in half and still work us to death because it still doesn't cost them anything. So we got to be careful what we ask for. Well, it's the same with overbooking. I am firmly against overbooking. I think it's unethical to sell more tickets than you have seats in inventory. I think that practice should be illegal. But again, unintended consequences. Without overbooking, we may see a drop in demand, and the company could use that to justify lower hiring rates or maybe even shrink flight attendant staffing. And I'm kind of willing to take that risk. I don't know about you, but I understand why they do it. Just about every major airline does it, including some of the budget airlines. Overbooking ensures empty seats get filled by revenue passengers, but unfortunately, the more they overbook, the harder it is for their crews to get to and from work, or, Jetway Jesus forbid, actually use their flight benefits for pleasure. And don't even go there with reaccommodating displaced passengers when shit hits the fan because they can't do it. But here's the thing. When everyone shows up, they gotta buy people off. When the plane is full and the airline needs to reposition crew on a deadhead, for example, because shit hit the fan somewhere, they gotta buy people off. When even a minor weather event occurs, and lately, minor weather events have been fucking us. They don't have the capacity to reaccommodate displaced passengers, let alone a major weather event, and then they gotta buy people off, sometimes a lot of people off. I realize every major airline does it, doesn't make it okay. I realize every major airline has a nerd in a cubicle somewhere that knows on average how many people fail to show up, yada, yada, yada. But guess what? If the ticket is non-refundable, and most of them are, we just keep their fucking money. The overbooking is pure greed, and it only benefits the people at the top. It doesn't help me or you. Recently, an executive for one of the majors announced a change in policy to increase overbooking to 105% and called the policy, and I quote, exciting. No, it's not exciting. It's horrific. That just means it's going to be that much harder for your airline to recover from disruptions and your crews to get to and from work. I'm New York based, and I have zero intention of living there. It's not that I dislike New York, I just don't want to pay for it. Because I can't live there at the same standard that I live in Orlando. I bought a 3-bedroom townhouse brand new in 2016. It's new everything. It's central everything. I can't get that in New York for the same money. For what I pay on my mortgage and taxes and insurance, I can get maybe a studio in Queens. That's maybe post-war. No air conditioning, forced heat. Plus the absurd taxes. Unless the airline is prepared to pay me to live there, I'm not making the move. Something like 80% of my base commutes. So it seems to me, I'm in the majority opinion here. My commute this year has been beyond difficult. It's been very stressful. I've been commuting from Orlando since 2016, and it has never been this hard. Never been this hard. Even the crazy summer of 2019 wasn't this hard. I've missed work because of this overbooking bullshit. For the first time in 13 years, I've missed work because of this extreme overbooking. So far, overbooking has personally cost me about $3,000 for missing trips. No telling what it's cost us cumulatively. I know one goddamn fact is for fucking certain. Hasn't cost executives one goddamn cent. You know why? Because they keep doing it. If it cost them anything, they'd stop doing it. Imagine if a car manufacturer sold more cars than they actually made, and then had to buy other people out of their car to accommodate someone else who likely paid less for the same goddamn car. It's the same goddamn thing, right? Doesn't that seem at a minimum unethical and unseemly? It should be fucking illegal. I don't like it. I think it's wrong. And I think it should be illegal. There's just something about this job that's making me dumber. I can't remember shit like words. I'll be mid-sentence and completely forget what the hell I'm trying to say because I forget how to use words. So unless I have some sort of early onset dementia, I'm getting dumber. So I thought I'd try something different and end the podcast with a little bit of intellectual elevation by reading a passage or two from highly regarded authors and literature. I guess you could say this is about words. Can you imagine if George Bush had a segment about literacy? This is all about words with George W. Bush. Discombobulate. It's like, hey, don't diss the way I combobulate. I thought it was funny when he'd whip out the little bit of Spanish he knew. Donde estas los pantalones? I think that's a local greeting. So here's a brief passage from To Kill a Mockingbird. When he was nearly 13, my brother Jem got his arm badly broken at the elbow. When it healed, and Jem's fears of never being able to play football were assuaged, he was seldom self-conscious about his injury. His left arm was somewhat shorter than his right. When he stood or walked, the back of his hand was at right angles to his body, his thumb parallel to his thigh. He couldn't have cared less. so long as he could pass and punt. When enough years had gone by to enable us to look back on them, we sometimes discussed the events leading to his accident. I maintain that Ewell started it all, but Jem, who was 4 years my senior, said it started long before that. He said it began the summer Dill came to us, when Dill first gave us the idea of making Boo Radley come out. I said if you wanted to take a broad view of the thing, it really began with Andrew Jackson. If General Jackson hadn't run the creeks up the creek, Simon Finch would never have paddled up the Alabama, and where would we be if he hadn't? We were far too old to settle an argument with a fistfight, so we consulted Atticus. Our father said we were both right. Being Southerners, it was a source of shame to some members of the family that we had no recorded ancestors on either side of the Battle of Hastings. All we had was Simon Finch, a fur-trapping apothecary from Cornwall, whose piety was exceeded only by his stinginess. In England, Simon was irritated by the persecution of those who called themselves Methodists at the hands of their more liberal brethren, and as Simon called himself a Methodist, he worked his way across the Atlantic to Philadelphia, thence to Jamaica, thence to Mobile, and up the St. Stephen's. Mindful of John Wesley's strictures on the use of many words in buying and selling, Simon made a pile practicing medicine. But in this pursuit he was unhappy, lest he be tempted into doing what he knew was not for the glory of God, as the putting on of gold and costly apparel. So Simon, having forgotten his teacher's dictum on the possession of human chattels, bought 3 slaves, and with their aid established a homestead on the banks of the Alabama River, some 40 miles above St. Stephen's. He returned to St. Stephen's only once, to find a wife, and with her established a line that ran high to daughters. Simon lived to an impressive age and died rich. Thanks for listening to the Grumpy Stew podcast. This was episode 50. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast wherever you get yours. Visit thegrumpystew.com. You can support the podcast in any number of ways. Just liking, subscribing, and sharing does a lot and goes a long way, and it doesn't cost you anything. But if you'd like to help financially from thegrumpystew.com, you can find the merch store, or you can buy an MP3 for $1, or if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, you can donate to Jetway Jesus. Be sure to follow me on all the socials. I'm on the shitter. Wait, no, I'm not. Scratch that. I'm on the Threads. I'm on the Instagram and the Facebook, and of course, YouTube. But until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Take it easy.